Them kids need some guidance.
They do. And sadly, I don't know, maybe call Auntie Reby, child. Call Centipede. I don't know.
For Centipede.
That's my shit, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. A very underrated bop.
If you know, you know.
And if you know, you know. Hey y'all, I'm Eboni K. Williams here, host and attorney extraordinaire. Welcome to Holding Court, where we analyze the very latest in legal headlines, the ones that got all the streets talking. You know what we do? We dig deep into how the courts impact the culture. We break it down, going straight from gavel to your news feed. And every week, we keep it 100. Right, Dustin Ross?
That's right.
Dustin Ross, my love.
Yes.
Back for another episode.
I wouldn't rather be anywhere else.
Yeah. You know, I love that we're joined by our two favorite guests today.
When I tell you we've been waiting on them, we have been waiting on them to grace us with their presence.
And
yes.
they have arrived, and I will say they were worth the wait.
They
Can
sure
we say
were.
that?
So beautiful. So beautiful.
You know, have you named yours? I was just thinking
not.
that. We need to think about that.
We do. We can come up with something unique because, you know, this was definitely a special delivery.
Special delivery. Yes.
So beautiful.
So beautiful. So heavy.
So heavy. So
I love
encouraging.
the weight of it. Mm-hmm. You know. Mm-hmm. And this is the matchy I like.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Now this right here we can do.
This we can do.
This we can do. It's such a blessing, Ebony. Thank you. More goodness that you've brought into my life.
As you have
thank
in
you
mind.
so much.
Thank you, and thank you to the NAACP Image Awards.
Yes.
And we have a third matchy, and Miss Ashley Hobbs has hers.
Yes, we do.
We will have to take a little photo.
Yes.
And just really cement. You know, I think it's worth celebrating and naming. The labor of 3 seasons in of Holding Court.
Absolutely.
I love
Absolutely.
it.
So glad to be here nonetheless.
Amen.
Yes.
Ain't he good?
Yeah.
All right. With that, y'all, we got 3 strong stories for y'all today for the docket. Number 1, we're going to get into reflections around Diddy and Puff. I know many of you were expecting us to cover this a couple of episodes ago when the horrific, traumatizing, just absolutely horrifying videotape of Sean Combs, Puff, beating Cassie. I mean, you was just say he was beating her.
You can't sugarcoat it.
Yeah, that's just what it was. And I'll tell you, one of the reasons we didn't touch on it, it was on an off-record week for us, but also it didn't, from a legal standpoint, advance any movement, actually, because of statute of limitations, both state and California, which are limited to 1 year on that type of assault. So there was not a legal kind of hook for us to get into on Holding Court. But what it did do was add to what we're going to talk about today.
Yeah.
Because that was the first piece, Dustin, of what we have now seen to be a trickling, a breadcrumbing, if you will, of corroborating evidence. The video was the strongest piece, so that's why it came out first. We've now seen this Rolling Stone article, which, my God, the details, y'all, if you have not read it, trigger warning for those that, you know, are understandably triggered by the details of domestic abuse. It's going to be very difficult to read, and maybe you abstain. But for those that have read that in detail, I mean, it reads like a true horror story. Yeah. There was, I think, a Daily Beast piece that also came out talking about the horrors. Y'all, that's not random. I just want to be clear for those that might have missed that. That is all a part of a broader legal strategy that is cementing the corroboration of it all before what we ultimately get, which is coming imminently, which is going to be the federal indictment of Sean Combs and associates related to not just the abuse, but the broader criminal scheme. And I use that word specifically, Dustin Ross, the criminal scheme that will lead this man to a very extended penitentiary experience.
Wow.
It's coming. So we're going to go into some of that and some of these pieces of corroborating evidence by virtue of video and articles and leaked reports. And oh my God, can you believe someone is speaking on this now? None of this is by mistake, y'all. This is all by design. And while each piece doesn't have like a clear legal through line, this is all a part of a broader legal strategy as it relates to what will be an imminent indictment. We know that a grand jury is either already convened or convening very soon, and this is all a part of that. So we'll get into that. Michael Jackson, y'all know I live for Mike. I don't give a fuck. And whenever I have an opportunity to bring some of the legal nuance of the legendary Michael Jackson's estate to the show, I will.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I thought this was interesting. Catherine Jackson, as well as the adult Michael Jackson children, Paris, Blanket,
and Prince. Yep.
All three of them have been, four of them rather, including the mother Catherine, have been locked out of the estate, not able to access any funds due to an IRS dispute. So I want to go and talk about it as it relates, of course, to Michael Jackson and the estate. But y'all, this is also something that all of us need to know. I don't care if your estate is $1,000. One would argue you even more so need access to that $1,000. And when you die and there is outstanding tax issue, they gonna get their money one way or another.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. So we'll go into that. And last but not least, this one is making its rounds, D, on a lot of people's social media radar, but maybe not as pronounced as some other stories we cover. But I think it's a very important one. Y'all know we talk a lot on this show about home ownership and Black home ownership and the obstacles to Black home ownership. And this is as blatant as a discriminatory practice that I've seen to try to impede Black home ownership. A beautiful, highly educated Black woman made an offer on a condo. Offer was accepted on the condo, only then for her agent to call her back and say, the seller no longer wants to sell to you. And that's when I read this story, I just knew it was going to be some kind of veiled, poorly veiled, but veiled explanation.
Shit.
This motherfucker said flat out, oh, they're not selling to you. They've changed their mind. They're not accepting your offer because you are Black. Said it plain like that. How does that happen in 2024, right? How does that happen when we have a Fair Housing Act in place? We're going to talk about it. Okay, y'all. So you guys are seeing the Diddy headlines week after week after week. And one could argue that I call this a breadcrumbing legal strategy, right? Where this started with the New York Times piece that broke in November of 2023. This was our first kind of awareness of the darkness of these allegations and of this man's true nature. Then fast forward, lots of other things, but the big ticket item just dropped a couple weeks ago was the video itself. So when the video dropped, Dustin, I know obviously you and I have been vocal, but even in our own independent worlds have believed the allegations since they were, quote, just allegations. Did the video do anything for you in terms of bolstering that belief, or did it not move it because you were already convinced?
I was already convinced, but just on a human level, seeing that take place, seeing that level of abuse take place, seeing that rage from him, emotionally, it connected me to this story, right? Because it made it something that it just connected it to me on a personal level, seeing that take place to her, seeing her be beaten like that. It just it amplified the allegations in a personal way for me.
I'm glad you said it that way because it proves the point I want to make about the legal of it all, right? So like I said in the open, the video is not going to yield charges. And a lot of people are upset about that, Dustin. I understand that upsetness. But this is where statute of limitations, the prohibition of bringing criminal charges simply due to the timeline comes in place. And because the most as horrific and disturbing and heartbreaking as that video was, the most severe charge would have been an aggressive assault charge. And in the state of California, you cannot bring criminal assault charges after 1 year. So then why would the video be leaked? And let's be clear, this is not a time to be naive, jurors,
right.
Okay? This video was released. It was released, first of all. It's been held in possession by higher powers this entire time. Of course, this was in the complaint, the original November complaint that we saw filed on Cassie's behalf by her lawyers, that we knew this video existed. We knew that Puff allegedly paid $50,000 to keep it from to see the light of day. So someone has had this video this whole time, Dustin. Why are we seeing it now? Because of what you just said. Not because criminal charges were ever an option, but because when you go to see the jury, the fact that now everybody in America has seen that video, more or less, they will have a different level of connectivity emotionally, personally, humanly, as it relates to these allegations and these crimes?
Yeah, this is it's just sad. It's very sad, and my heart goes out to Cassie, because that was just a very short video that I'm sure there's so much more that we didn't see.
And that's the point too, right? Is just seeing that tends to lead human curiosity and human kind of instinct around, if that's what we did see, what haven't we seen? And I want to say I appreciated the statement by is it Christian's mom?
Oh, Misa. Justin's mom. Yep.
I really appreciated that sister coming out, because she didn't have to say anything. And she would have been well within her right to not say anything.
She's notoriously private anyway. This is the first time in all the years that we've known her.
And this is over 20 plus years.
She's never been vocal about private matters until now. So.
And what does that say?
Yeah.
What does that say? And and how she said it, which I'm paraphrasing, but it was something along the lines of, this is consistent to what I've known of the experience to be with him looks like, and holding space for the pain. And I can relate. That's more corroboration. See, yeah. Just look y'all, how this is, because I do know there is still a contingency out there, and everybody can believe what they want to believe, Dustin, but there's still a contingency that wants to frame this as Puff being targeted, as Sean Combs being set up, as this being a broader systematic play against a powerful, influential, ascending black man, and this is a takedown. I think it's harder and harder and harder and harder to argue that when we're seeing more and more and more and more corroboration, by the way, from different vantage points. So this is not just, if you want to frame Cassie as the fragile, racially ambiguous, tragic mulatto, which is some of the framing that's out there. I think it's utter bullshit, but we know it's there. Now do it to Misa. Now do it to some of the other stories we're going to hear, and we're going to hear them.
We're just getting started.
We're just getting started. You said I fear? Yeah. And I fear too, because none of this is what we want to see. None of this is what it's worth celebrating. I don't think anybody saw that video, Dustin, even staunch people that can't stand. What did Biggie's mom say?
She wanted to
Miss
slap
Wallace
the daylights out of him.
Yeah. And when you hear that, Biggie's been gone for almost 20 years too, right? So how much has been built up? How much has this woman seen? How much has this woman not told us that this moment, the video, the lawsuit, the Rolling Stone feature, reading about the historic allegations and wrongdoing that involved her son, how much more are we going to learn?
Oh, this is just a heartbreaking case for me. And again, my heart just goes out to Cassie, because seeing that made this very, very real for me. And my heart goes out to her. Yeah.
And I think for me.
And his children.
Yeah. Well, the minor children. I'm going to say that. And I'm going to tell you
girls,
why. Yeah, the girls. And I'm going to say why I make that distinction. Because at some point, and I don't know exactly where that line is, D, but at some point, the adult children, I'm talking about Quincy,
Justin and Christian,
who's been named, I believe, in the complaints, and Christian, at some point, I believe you have to establish your own positioning around this. And I'm not saying throw your dad under the bus. I'm not saying that. But I am saying, I just think if it was my mom, at some point, like, you kind of have to establish your own positioning on it, because you're not going to get the benefit, not from me anyway, the benefit of, well, that's his child. But you're not even a child.
Yeah, you're a grown-ass man.
You're a grown-ass man.
Yeah.
I think Quincy's over 30, right? Or approaching it.
Yeah, he's up there.
And the other two are mid-20s at best. So y'all aren't children. Y'all are grown-ups. Y'all are grown-ish men at that. So I do believe there has to be some accountability that says, that ain't me. That's that. And some of them are probably going to struggle with that distinction. because of their own participation. Now we can get into the psychology of what was going on in their actual childhood, in their actual adolescence, that may have been of a disservice to these when they were young boys, to be unclear about what boundaries look like and what is permissible and what money buys you. That's a separate conversation. But ultimately, as we stand in this moment right here, this is the moment where we have to start creating the separation between right and wrong.
It's that simple, and again, the allegations that we saw in Cassie's complaint, right? Reading them was bad enough. Seeing a visual for something that was described in detail in that complaint just makes the entire situation way more real. Which
is the design, right?
Yeah.
You read the complaint.
To your point.
Yeah, you read the complaint, and now your imagination starts going for many of us, right? Maybe we're recalling our own experiences. Maybe we're recalling what we saw happen to our mothers, our sisters, our fathers. But then you see the visual in real time, and it compounds the lens. We want to say that CNN revealed that many witnesses have, again, also CNN is the direct connect. When we watch, some of these Frank Lucas or Nikki Barnes docs, I'm a big fan. You hear about the French Connection.
That's right. Yep.
You know where I was going with it, right?
Yeah.
Well, CNN is the French Connection on this, clearly, because we are seeing that the original video was first reported by CNN. Now it just so happens to be CNN of all the global media outlets.
Let's dig into that though, Ebony, right?
Yeah.
Because what do you think that means that we have this video? I was having a conversation about this situation with someone over the weekend, and they thought that the fact that we saw this video means that Puff may be having money problems that we didn't know about. They said it seemed like... And you tell me what you think. They said it seemed like
he couldn't pay to keep it suppressed.
Yep. Maybe with all the new legal fees that I'm sure are piling up like Mount Everest, right? They were saying maybe that's indicative of him not having as much liquid assets or as much money as we thought. I don't know.
I would not stand on that. I think two things are true in that. I do believe he's not as liquid financially as he was pre-November. We know that because you had to cut Cassie a big old check, and I don't think it was I think it was approaching 9 figures. But this tape was going to be leaked anyway. Let me tell you why. At best, the $50,000 or whatever he paid to suppress it was paid. And see, this happens all the time, y'all. Like, so let's not be so. And I hate to say it this way, but so simple-minded in the sense that, if you pay to have the evidence suppressed or destroyed, it actually is going to be suppressed and destroyed.
No.
Stop it. That's just like people hire hitmen and women all the time and don't nobody get killed, but you paid that money. So you can't enforce pay for play when it's a criminal activity that you're trying to pay for. The suppression of evidence is a crime. So I believe Puff did pay whatever, 50, 100, whatever the money was. And it's not that we saw this video because the checks stopped coming in. Okay. I don't believe that. Okay. Not for 1 second. We're seeing this video because a subpoena from the federal government is going to supersede any payment. Think about, put yourself in a position. You could be on payroll from Puff, getting $50,000 a month to keep the video out of sight and out of mind. But then when that Homeland Security, how you doing?
You got to give it up.
You gonna give it up, period. So I don't think it's correlated to a money shortage issue. I really don't. I think this is a superseding issue that says, I don't give a damn who paid what, when, how, for how long, what the NDA, fuck all that. Again, people confused about, Cassie got paid and we know she had to sign a whole harmless fiat because that's how that works, right? Like when you take a settlement, part of the exchange of that, and that's why after he paid the settlement, we got a further denial of the charges. Remember that? His lawyer came out and said, although we have reached a financial settlement, Mr. Combs in no way admits to any wrongdoing. Those always go hand in hand. Very rarely do you see a payout and an apology. That's why we didn't get an apology from Sean Combs until the video came out.
Question,
Yes,
Eboni.
sir.
So another thing, right? When Cassie first started these conversations with Puff about, hey, you need to pay me because otherwise I'm going to talk. Had he paid her before her lawyers issued a formal complaint, we wouldn't know any of this shit, right?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what we wouldn't know. Correct? That we would have never seen that. I think it was 90-page legal complaint. So the one that we all saw in November that had us doing everything from clutching pearls to shedding tears.
Yeah.
We would have never seen that because that is the criminal complaint filing that would have never been executed. Although it was drafted, you better know it was drafted. We would have never seen it though because it never would have been executed and filed because the payment would have been made. The whole harmless, this is the civil side of it, would have gone into play. And we would have never seen that lawsuit. We would have never known those details. And we would have been going into the holiday season, many of y'all high on the Love album still. But what we still probably would see, what has nothing to do with that piece, pay or no pay, settlement, no settlement, civil complaint, no civil complaint, is this video and some of this other reporting, and it is reporting, being done in the Rolling Stones and in the Daily Beast and throughout CNN. That has nothing to do with that.
Thank you for clearing that up because a lot of people are under the impression that
had he just paid all of this,
none of this would have taken place.
No.
So you're saying that the dominoes had already been knocked over.
Yeah, you can't buy your way out of criminal prosecution.
Yeah.
You simply cannot. The only exception, quote unquote, to that, and it's dicey, is if you are working with the prosecutor, your legal team is working with the prosecutor, and there's some type of restitution payment available that can normally not dismiss but decrease your time. So let's say when this moves forward, because it will, Sean Combs and his legal team want to say, well, it won't apply in this because this is just too high stakes. But I've seen this in other cases, Dustin. Well, Your Honor, I mean, not Your Honor. Well, Mr. Prosecutor, I'm the defense lawyer. Mr. Ross, Mr. Prosecutor, my client has significant means. And while we still dispute the guilt of or even at this point, maybe we admit the guilt of some of these charges, what we want to do is we want to offer $5 million. We want to offer $8 million to a domestic violence programming institution. And you could, at your discretion, we call it prosecutorial discretion, say, in exchange, we'll take your $8 million. We'll put it towards a victim relief fund or some type of programming for this type of crime. And instead of your client doing 10 years, they'll do 8. That's the best you can buy your way out of criminal consequence.
But once that ball is rolling, it's rolling.
It's rolling. There is no precursor. There's no putting the toothpaste back into the tube.
Right. And that ball was rolling prior to Cassie even brokering her deal.
The federal government had already probably been speaking to Cassie Ventura and probably other corroborating witnesses for the better part of over a year.
Get out of here, Eboni.
Absolutely. It reeks of it. Because, and I'm telling you the reason I'm saying that, Dustin, is because of the speed. The fact that this kind of started, quote unquote, in November, and we're barely basically in May, we had this much come out. That is not in real time.
It's not by happenstance.
It's not and it's not happening in real time. This has been, because the feds don't work like that. They don't take risks at all. They don't have a 98% prosecution rate because they see where things go. They tell you where the shit gonna go. Let me say it again. They tell you where it's going to go. Just like they are telling CNN on some level. You know, they're still an independent journalistic operation, so I'm going to give them that. But you better fucking believe that tape coming from CNN first, now CNN revealing that there are possible witnesses that have been notified by federal investigators that they might need to testify in front of a federal grand jury in New York City. What kind of statement is that? I'm going to say it again because I think some of y'all are missing it. This is not speculation. This is CNN Worldwide news, the house that Ted Turner built, saying this is not, with respect to our good friends at Jasmine Brand and Hollywood Unlocked in the Shade Room, this ain't that. This is CNN. And they are saying that it has been revealed to them by a source. And let me talk about something called standards and practices. Let me just get into my shit, because clearly it's confused. Difference between our friends over at Hollywood Unlocked and B. Scott and all of that, they don't operate with standards and practices because they're not journalistic institutions. They are for basically entertainment-based content creators. That ain't CNN, that ain't CBS, that ain't BBC, that ain't NPR. When you see stuff coming out of that, including MSNBC, ABC News, those are journalistic institutions that are held and required to adhere to standards and practices. I spent a year, Dustin, as a correspondent at CBS News. I spent 2 years at HLN CNN. I spent several years at Fox News. In all of those spaces, Fox News, actually, I never experienced this. I'm not saying they don't have it, but I never experienced it because of my capacity there. But in the other two, where I was a news correspondent, I had to go, as my colleagues had to go to quarterly meetings with binders of information called standards and practices, where you can't say, write, or think anything without two credible sources. It's called sourcing your information, sourcing your story. So for CNN to put the video out, for CNN to put this statement out, we've been notified that there are possible witnesses that are going to testify in front of a federal grand jury. We're going to tell you where they testifying at. We ain't say somewhere. We said New York City. It's been sourced per their standard, period. They standing on business. So do with it what y'all want. Make up whatever stories and excuses y'all want to make up for the this and the that. I'm telling you what it is. That this is also coming from CNN. Sources say. Sources. Plural. At least two. Witnesses have not yet been prepped for testimony due to the Homeland Security investigations, because they're continuing to gather evidence and question other sources of evidence. So now we have parallel investigations. Y'all gotta, I can't say y'all gotta. I guess that's why y'all listen to the show. and that's what I'm here for. Yeah. Right. This is what I'm flagging for y'all. They're saying there are parallel investigations. One is Homeland Security. The other's probably FBI. The move comes as a potential plan by the U.S. Department of Justice to indict Diddy. That's giving FBI. The grand jury hearing from the victims who filed civil lawsuits against him would be an important step towards justice. What did we just talk about, Dustin? Your questions were spot on. The complaint, the civil, is a foundational step to the criminal. They're building on it. They're not separate and apart. Oh, y'all thought because he wrote Cassie a $70, $90, $100,000 check, he was going to avoid the criminal federal prosecution piece? What made you think that? Ain't happening. 7 civil lawsuits in total. Rape, sexual assault, violence. And now, FBI, Homeland Security, they gonna stand on that.
Man.
Y'all better, anybody over there underestimating this shit, I don't know what's wrong with you.
It's going down.
But it's going down. So, final, CNN. Remember what I just laid out for y'all regarding the standards and the practices. CNN also reports federal investigators are now in possession of video footage. Here we go with the visual again. We just talked through in detail the power of the video on top of the paper and documents. We do that piece first for foundational establishment, and then we show you video to touch your heartstrings. We show you video to get you connected. CNN is reporting that federal investigators are now in possession of video footage taken inside of Diddy's home. What does this sound like? Does it sound like R. Kelly?
Yes.
The investigators have reportedly contacted individuals, plural. It didn't say an individual. It said individuals that appear in the seized videos. They didn't say video. They said videos. One person, in addition to the accusers who have filed lawsuits against Diddy, is a male sex worker. The fact that piece was leaked. They're building a case. They're building a narrative. They're showing you the broadness of scope, Dustin. Yep. This isn't just about women. This is about people broadly. Humanity. He's indifferent against humanity. The HSI investigation was initially based on sex trafficking, but now, the scope of the investigation has been widened to include money laundering and illegal drugs. Wow. Did we talk about that on the first episode when we covered this?
We sure fucking did.
Wow. And I'm going to tell you what else I think is coming from Homeland Security. In addition to the broadening beyond sex trafficking, because if it was just sex trafficking, there would be no Homeland Security involved. And I put my law degree on it. I put my law license on it. If it was just that, it would be treated like R. Kelly and it would be an FBI solo investigation. When you compound it and you've got dual investigations, Dustin Ross, from the FBI and Homeland Security, the Homeland Security piece is what the drug piece, but also foreign affairs. Think global. There's a reason why there's little snippets of this Titan or this Sultan or this. Come on.
Blown away.
Right. I got to go on to the next story, but we'll be back here.
We will definitely be back.
All right. Michael Jackson, Catherine Jackson, Michael Jackson's children, the three of them are all barred from accessing a very, very, very hefty trust fund, of course, left to them by the late Michael Jackson, because the I, the R, and the S. This all started when the IRS audited the estate's federal tax return and claimed that the estate undervalued its assets, and in doing so, owed $700 million in taxes and penalties.
God damn.
That's a lot of money.
Shit.
That's a lot of money. That's a lot of money.
That's a whole lot of money.
And if you think the IRS don't want their money, you crazy. The IRS want $90 from me and you, so you know they want $700.
They wait on that $700.
Listen, they want that $700. The estate disputed the IRS claim, and they won in court when this first went to court in 2021. However, the estate also filed a motion to reconsider of the court's valuations of the catalog. In that case, it's open. So all this is going to come down to, y'all, there needs to be a fair and accurate assessment, quote unquote, fair and accurate assessment of what is the Michael Jackson estate worth currently. And let me just flag some things I just know colloquially, and y'all probably remember this too, that's happened even since 21. Very recently, I think the estate sold part of the catalog to Sony. And because I remember that because folks was in the comments like, Michael rolling in his grave, because it's true, Michael didn't really fuck with Sony. But that has happened. So when that happens, some money came in. When you sell a part of the estate, obviously. So the IRS is saying, we want our cut. Because we know y'all got paid off of selling part of that catalog. Where is our money? Until there's been an ultimate appraisal and assessment of the current valuation of the Michael Jackson catalog, this case can't move forward. The value of Jackson's estate cannot be determined, and the IRS estate cannot agree on the valuation. So they really can't even agree, Dustin, on what the tax bill ought to look like until we get that first piece established.
Right.
Now, y'all, he's got 3 grown-ass kids. 27 is Prince. Miss Paris is 25. They calling this baby Biggie. What was that Blanket? I guess I know that's Blanket. What's Blanket's real name?
I don't know. Waited.
Somebody said electronic.
Well, okay.
Heated.
Okay, crochet. Wow. Damn. So listen, they're going to have to figure that out. And they're going to have to figure that out fast.
Well, fast. And also, Catherine's 94.
Yes.
So when she goes, then you leave everything really in the hands of, I guess, Prince and Paris and the 27, 25, and 22-year-old. That's ooh.
Them kids need some guidance.
They do. And sadly, I don't know, maybe call Auntie Reby, child. Call Centipede. I don't know.
For Centipede.
That's my shit, by the way.
Okay.
Okay. A very underrated bop.
If you know, you know.
And if you know, you know, because that video gave.
Okay. Centipede.
Listen.
I can see her moving now. Hey.
Centipede. Produced by Michael Jackson.
Okay. Gave her a hit.
Here you
go,
hit.
sis.
Yeah. Couldn't give Jermaine one, though. And what does that say about Jermaine?
Yep. And look at the choices he's made.
Since. Right.
Michael probably was like, I know how you going to do your hair.
Including that hair. I was going to say. I think when y'all heard us say, look at the choices, some of y'all probably thought about the wives. And we're talking about the hair.
To be clear.
What's important. All right. Jackson's trust calls for 20% of his estate to be valued for tax purposes, blah, 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 blah. Catherine, of course, is arguing that, one thing about Catherine Jackson, and this is probably what Michael clearly knew about his mother, Dustin, and why she has been so empowered as it relates to finances and this is a stand-on business motherfucking woman.
Yeah, she don't play.
She didn't play when it came to suing Conrad Murray. She not playing on this estate. She is just really, really, really about her business.
Yeah.
And I respect that.
Mama Bear.
Mama Bear through and through. Run us all the money. She's counting it all. She's watching for it all. That's the kind of exact. And again, we all are Michael Jackson with Michael Jackson money, but we all will go one day. And I don't care if it's $500. I don't care if it's your house that might be valued at $75,000 or $100,000. You need somebody. If you close your eyes tomorrow, jurors, I want you to think, who is that person? Who is your Catherine Jackson?
Figure it out and get it in writing.
And get it in writing. I'm ashamed to say, I just got mine really, really in writing and executed and all that a couple weeks ago.
That's right.
And it looks different when you see it in writing. Who is your Catherine Jackson, y'all?
Think about
out. That. Figure it out. Last but not least, this is a case that sadly shouldn't shock us, but I think many of us are still like the brazen audacity of the direct anti-blackness in this one, I think, is what took the cake. Y'all, Dr. Raven Baxter, beautiful black woman, highly, highly, highly educated, scientist of sort, put in an offer on a Virginia Beach condo. It was overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. And if the thing about real estate, what do we all know? Basic principle, location, location, location.
Beachfront property.
Beachfront property. Okay, so she could have bought anywhere. She wanted this one because this is an elite location to own real estate. Okay, and it's got an elite price tag, $749,000. That was what she wanted to pay. It was within her budget. She offered asking price. When somebody offer asking price, they're not playing. They want it.
They ready.
Set a down payment schedule. All of her terms, Dustin, were accepted. The rate, the down payment schedule, offer accepted. Cool. We cooking with grease. We moving forward. Sis about to have her condo on the water.
She's picking out furniture at this point.
Probably started, if she like me, started ordering some. Then, as she was in escrow, her broker, because remember in most real estate deals, you got two agents working. Now, this is probably going to change soon. So jurors, stay tuned. There's a lot going on legislatively around sellers and buyers and agents and fees. We're going to get back to that. But right now, she has an agent and the seller has an agent. Her broker agent called her, had some bad news. Said, hold your horses on those area rugs. Hold your horses.
It's not funny.
But you know what I mean?
But you are.
That canopy bed, let it go back.
Them end tables.
Run it back.
You love.
Right. You got to call rooms to go.
You got to call them and tell them, hold on.
Hold on.
That's right.
The seller now wants to pull out of the deal. And he said, this is a quote, "I don't know how to tell you this, but she doesn't want to sell the home to you, and it's because you're black." Well, my God. The seller is an 84-year-old white woman named Jane Walker.
Jane Walker.
If that don't sound like a dummy, like not calling a woman dumb, although, but like the dummy name in the pleading, Jane Doe.
Jane Doe. Person A.
Correct.
Yep. Jane Walker.
84-year-old Jane Walker said, not on her watch, a Negro's moving in. She said Walker did not respond, by the way, to request for comments. Miss Baxter's broker, a gentleman by the name of Bill Loftus, said that we have no comment because we can't do anything to jeopardize our client's transaction. This is wild. Again, the black woman looking to purchase a 30-year-old molecular biologist. So science. She's a PhD. Accomplished. And thank God for Dr. Baxter. She has a bit of a public profile. She's got followers on the platform formerly known as Twitter. So when she just went to that platform and I was going to say tweet, but whatever y'all, what y'all call it now?
Tweet.
Okay.
And we also call the platform Twitter.
That's it. Okay.
I wish I would say some X.
Right. So when she went to tweet about it, that's how she ended up in the New York Times. And now we're seeing her face and we're hearing her story and we're talking about it, which is necessary. Now, this triggers two laws while we're talking about it on Holding Court. Number one, we've got a Fair Housing Act of 1968. And then there's an ancient Civil Rights Act, not the one of 64, 65, the one of 1866. So well over 100 years old. Both of those pieces of legislation, Dustin, make it illegal for both the home seller and their real estate agents, so both parties liable here, under discrimination. And for more than 50 years, we know redlining has been outlawed. We know that race discrimination has been outlawed. But surprise, 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 we know it happens every day. Every day. Which is why. And this is one of the things I cite when people want to talk about all the progress that Black Americans have made since the civil rights movement of the 1960s. Prove it to me. Because when I look at Black home ownership rates today, Dustin, they still hover around 38 to 40%. And you know the last time the number looked like that? It was right before the Fair Housing Act of 68. Black home ownership looks the same, if not worse. Today in 2024 than it did before we had a Fair Housing Act. Now talk to me again about the progress. Okay. Right. 87%, for those that like statistics, 87% of real estate agents participated in racial steering. That is opting to show their clients homes in neighborhoods where most of their neighbors were of the same race. Said another way, almost 90% of real estate agents participate in housing segregation. That's what that says. And if you don't know the ramifications of that, those of you saying, well, is it so bad to live amongst other Black people or white people wanting to live? Then let's have the school conversation. Let's have it. Let's have the safety conversation. Let's have the home appraisal valuation conversation. After the countless videos have been made of people staging their homes for appraisal and getting different results when they have pictures of Black people and pictures of white people in the house. Come on. Like this shouldn't even be a conversation. This lady is fucking wrong. It's a damn shame. I'm so glad that this illustrious and credentialed, brilliant Black scientist, doctor, woman is shining a light on this, because it's a conversation that should be amplified, because she should already be in July. That Jane Walker, she should already be ashamed of herself. Oh, shame, right? Okay, right. Expedite her, please. Expedite her. Yeah, well, I love Dr. Baxter because she's spicy with it. She said she put on the Twitter. I'm gonna go back to that too. She said, "Baby, I'm either buying your house or I'm buying your block. Come on, choose one. Come on with it. Choose one." Throw her ass out. She's right. You know, she was encouraged to sign an inspection contingency, releasing the seller of all obligations to make repairs. I think at this point, it is what it is. This is where we've landed. In light of the actions of our horrible, misguided seller, I feel compelled to send you this email. Be assured that the attitude of the individual is not something to be tolerated by Berkshire Hathaway. So that's the company, right? That is in charge of the seller. Basically, they're saying disregard our bigoted seller. Please don't hold us liable for her statements or positions. We'll see how far that plea goes. And we're going to move forward with your sale. We handled this. It was corrected the next day. Yeah, I think it's, again, the toothpaste can't go back into the tube. It's too late. Dr. Baxter might end up with this beautiful waterfront condo. But she's saying the harm has been done. And it is. And that's exactly what her claim says. Dr. Baxter has already experienced harm, whether the transaction goes through or not. And we want this to be a wake-up call to people. So the moral of the story here is twofold, right? Number one, see something, say something. Yep. When you are wronged, you're not just saying something for yourself. Dr. Baxter, like I said, she probably going to end up with this condo. But what she is doing, y'all, is ringing the alarm on an issue that for every Dr. Baxter, there is, another Black person that is being denied the property that they rightfully have bid on and should be acquiring. So she is standing up not just for herself, but she is standing up for a whole culture of Black people that are repressed fiscally. We talk about a wage gap. We talk about a wealth gap. Well, those things persist because we are not invited to home ownership. We were redlined out of it, and we continue to be sidelined and redlined and refused housing options where we want to buy to this day. By bitches like Jane Walker. Jane Walker. We see you, Jane. I'm going to say it. That's what she is. She's an old biddy. That's what she is. Crusty. What do you call her? Ornery? I love when you say ornery. Yeah. So shout out to Dr. Baxter. Thank you for ringing the alarm. Yes. We're going to follow suit. And every time we see something, we all should say something. And even if they try to make it right, that don't make it go away. That's right. That's the real moral here. Get this and that. That's right. Get your property and hold them accountable. And get you a little discrimination check on the way out.
You deserve it, Dr. Baxter.
We salute you. All right, y'all. That's going to be it for this week's edition of Holding Court. Shout out to all the jurors. Thank y'all for riding with us so far. Seems like y'all are really, 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 really happy with season 3.
And we are happy with them. Our jurors are the best.
They are the best. You know, y'all have ridden with us for 3 seasons now, and we're going to keep delivering y'all the content y'all want, you need, and elevating as we go. Y'all, it's the summertime. It's hot. Stay hydrated. Allergies are real, and I say that because there was a time in which I couldn't even function. My allergies were so bad. I just slipped Dustin the real.
Yes, you did.
And don't you feel better?
I'm already. Thank you. The only thing that really works for me is Benadryl, but it makes me sleep.
Yeah.
So this is great. Thank you.
This is great. Now it's potent. It's potent.
Well, so am I. So we're a match made in heaven.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just gonna tell y'all what it is. We first of all, there's that. Second of all, anything that I can just grab off the shelf ain't for me. If I don't have to show you my ID, I don't want it.
I want the good stuff.
I want the good stuff. Help me.
Okay.
Help you.
Help you, and thank you for helping me.
Always.
All right,
y'all. In the meantime, stay safe, keep the faith, and what do you want the people to do, Dustin Ross?
Read your terms and conditions, baby.
All right. Take what you need, y'all. Take what you need. Holding Court is produced by Uppity Productions. Host and executive producers here, Eboni K. Williams, yours truly, and the Dustin Ross. Executive producer in Dossie, McCraw. We've also got our senior producer, Ashley Hobbs, creative consultant, Jay Kleinberg, and follow us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and any and everywhere you get your podcast.